Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to make a statement to the panel and to all the veterans in the crowd today. That understand that when it comes to our electronic health records, we are doing everything we can to make that our primary effort. And unfortunately, as you all know, the government works in silos. Sharing data, sharing information is just, it's almost amendment to the Constitution. But being veterans ourselves, also understand that we are our country's most precious assets, and to lose any of that data to nefarious acts is something that we're working hard to prevent. And I understand the frustrations when it comes to because data sharing, information sharing creates results. Results moves down and inside the organizations, which helps us long term. So I wanted you to hear me say that as a new member to the Veterans Affairs, which I fought to get on specifically for that reason. To the general, I have a quick question for you. You mentioned that the transition from guard to active, and I know that goes back and forth, and you mentioned cost and how much cost that would save. Can you provide us those numbers so we can see what you're talking about? I don't have those numbers specifically, and you may not have them with you now, but that's something that I would like to see.
We will, and it's in reference to the cost associated with the readiness part of that medical. We can get that for you.
Okay, I appreciate that. And Ms. Pratt, thank you for being here. I actually represent the Alabama Coshada tribe, and please understand that this translates across to our Vietnam veterans, to our Black veterans, to our veterans in general. But my question for you is, because I served alongside Native Americans out of the Crow reservations in the SEAL teams, and unfortunately I lost him, and I was able to go up to the reservation and be a part of the service and be a part of the tribe for that short period of time. What I'm having trouble with, and even with the homeless veterans inside the reservations, is the culture prevents me from coming in because, number one, I am an outsider, and number two, I represent the government. And I'd love to have a follow-on. This may be a lengthy conversation, but when I have the conversations with our tribal elders and our tribal leadership on how we can assist not only our veterans, but the tribes in general, they're almost reluctant to have me come in because of my representation at the federal level. Are you seeing that? Are you hearing that? Or if so, how do I crack that nut?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. And that is, yes, it's a very long conversation to have, and it's been ongoing for quite some time. And that is what we are asking for in so many aspects of dealing with Native veterans. And we heard the Legion speak earlier, and we know veterans want to speak to veterans, having that relationship, and tribal veterans want to speak to tribal veterans, and that's why we're pushing for tribal veteran service officers and cultural competency in all that we do, whether it be healthcare, mental health care. And so that's, I agree, and that's where we're at. So many things there has been a lot of progress, legislative progress, and I thank you all for being a part of that. So much has happened just even in the last 3 years, 5 years, and so I really appreciate that. But we have to be talking, we have to be communicating, we have to be trying to build that relationship between the VA, between the government and tribal nations, and that's why we have to speak out. So I would suggest that you continue to show up, continue to reach out to them, continue to try to build that bridge, because we have a long history of being invisible and not counted. And that's the one thing I spoke on is data. We are still being considered other. As the indigenous peoples of this land, we're still being counted as other, or checking the box other or something else. And so we need to know our own data. We need to know our own, what's happening across, because we're talking about over 500 tribes that we're dealing with and have needs. And so I would definitely say that all of us have a lot of work to do in continuing to build that bridge.
Okay, yeah, let's have a follow on, because I know my time's up, sir. Because if the tribes if they're siloed themselves, I don't like the Army, right? I'm a Navy guy, so I don't talk to the Army.
We're done here.
You know what I mean? I was just curious. Again, follow on. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.